From Blooper Bay in Gelato Beach, Delfino Isle, Action Esports is proud to present the final day of the Toadstool Masters. It's been a long week for these competitors, and if the sun stays shining and the wind doesn't pick up, it looks like we'll have beautiful conditions on the course today. This week, all eyes have been on Mario, who shot a course record on day 1 and looks to be poised to take the tournament if he can keep up his momentum. 2 strokes behind, Diddy Kong, who hit a wonderful eagle on hole 9 yesterday, has been steadily gaining ground and will certainly be looking to close the gap in this final round. 1 stroke behind Diddy and tied for 3rd place are Petey Piranha and Princess Peach, both of whom could break ahead at any time. Regardless of who on this lead card dons the green jacket at the end of the day, there are no doubts that for the 2022 Toadstool Masters, we're in for an exciting round of golf. This is Mario Golf, Toadstool Tour. Mario Golf Toadstool Tour was released for the Nintendo GameCube in 2003. The game was developed in tandem with Mario Power Tennis by Camelot Studios, the company still responsible for Mario Golf and Tennis on the Switch today. At 1.27 million copies sold, according to VG Sales, the game is the second best-selling Mario sports game on the GameCube, outperforming both Mario Power Tennis and Mario Superstar Baseball and coming in close second to Mario Strikers. Toadstool Tour received high praise for its variety of game modes, but critical opinion was mixed, as many drew stark similarities to the Tiger Woods series. Others lamented that the game took a more realistic approach to golf than some of the wacky, item-rich sports games like Mario Strikers. The game was so realistic that professional golfer Gary McCord recommended the game in his book, Golf for Dummies. While many still debate whether the realistic approach is good or not, Toadstool Tour players quickly discovered that the game was far deeper than most other sports games on the market.
What makes Toadstool Tour just the absolute best Mario Golf still to this day is the insane level of control that you have making your shots. It's both tactically and technically, I feel, the strongest Mario Golf.
Unfortunately, while Mario Tennis got a huge upgrade when moving to the Switch, the same can't be said for Mario Golf Super Rush. The new Mario Golf game did away with the 3-click system that defined the original Mario Golf on the NES, the N64 version, and Toadstool Tour.
So many people wanted Super Rush to have a 3-click system, which is when you start your shot, you time the power, and then you also have to time the accuracy on the way back. Well, so you don't have to do that in Toadstool Tour, but it's an option. And the fact that Toadstool Tour offers an easier game mode with the auto shot and a predetermined accuracy, but also offers the manual shot so you can customize your shot a lot more, is such a nice middle ground. It's the perfect middle ground, offering the easier and the more advanced options, whereas Super Rush just offers the easier option, and no difficult mode was added onto that. There was no option to try and test your skill at multitasking with a shot mechanic system.
The decision to move to a 2-click system meant that most players dedicated to the franchise would end up staying with the game they were familiar with. So, although it's nearly 20 years old at this point, Toadstool Tour remains the de facto game for serious golfers. So what makes the game so deep? Well, in addition to the 3-click system, Toadstool Tour requires players to adapt on the fly. Each hole can have 4 possible pin locations, which will affect your strategy from the get-go. Additionally, varying levels of wind and rain will alter how you shoot each hole, as the flight path and roll distance will change based on these conditions. To make matters worse, neither wind, rain, nor roll are factored into the game's trajectory preview. As a result, the game isn't all about lining up your shot and executing 3 frame-perfect inputs. You also have to assume the role of a caddy, properly assessing each shot and choosing the correct club, swing, and trajectory for each shot. For these reasons, despite being out for 2 decades, the game is nowhere near solved. Let's look at an example from the game's first course, Lakidou Cup, which has no wind on its front holes. With no variables affecting each shot, players have developed reliable setups to ensure hole-in-ones or eagles on each of these holes. Although they require multiple frame-perfect inputs, these first holes prove that it is possible for the game to be solved. Thankfully, with wind and rain coming into effect, that will never be the case.
If it was a solved game, we'd get birdies every time, but we don't. we know the holes and we know the fairways and we know the greens, but the wind and the rain and the bad lies all contribute into this thing where every single time you play a hole, it's going to be different. And that's just the beauty of it, you know?
With its frame-perfect reaction timings and rewards for studying courses, Toadstool Tour has all the factors needed to thrive as a niche esport along with the other Mario sports titles we've covered on this channel. However, there really is no esports scene to speak of, at least not at the moment. The game has tons of great mechanics and a high skill ceiling, but for a long time, competitive matches were virtually impossible as there was no online play. On top of this, that frame-perfect 3-click system that made its most passionate fans fall in love with the game in the first place is exactly what prevented online play from being a reality. You see, any amount of latency caused by online play would make it impossible to execute the frame-perfect timings required to hit the shot you want. So, since people couldn't play against each other online, fans of the series stuck to a more solo form of competition: speedrunning. Over the years, players have continued to push the speedrun world record further and further and further. And while playing golf by yourself is great fun, there has been a desire to compete with others and really explore the various game modes that Toadstool Tour has to offer. Thankfully, the answer came in 2019 when Dolphin Emulator, the emulator of choice for GameCube games, released Golf Mode. We briefly mentioned Golf Mode in our Mario Baseball video, but basically, it's a workaround that fixes how lag affects precise swing timings, shifting the burden of connection onto one player while allowing the active player to execute their inputs without fear of a lag spike. With Dolphin's Golf Mode available, the community was finally able to properly explore matchmaking modes. In particular, the skins mode seemed perfect for competition.
Now, you can make things spicier with what is called a skins match, and this can also be done for 2 to 4 players. So multiple players will be competing for skins, and one acquires a skin by outscoring all other players on that hole. And if that is not the case, then that skin will carry over to the next hole, in which will then be worth all accumulated skins. There's the increased pressure of each player to try to outdo the other, try to do these extravagant chip-ins or dunks or whatever have you, just to try to get that edge and win all the skins.
Because so much of the focus has been on speedrunning, the game's competitive meta is largely unexplored. While Star Bowser and Star Petey are the game's strongest characters, speedrunners almost exclusively use Waluigi due to his consistency and fast putting. However, in a one-on-one skins match, it's entirely possible that new characters could become meta-defining.
There are some visual cues for me, also audio cues that work really well in terms of optimizing your ability to play frame perfectly, which is really the most important part when it would come to the deep competitive gameplay, is making sure that you're frame perfect, because that makes the largest difference in your accuracy. And because of that, like, some person could play Diddy Kong, and because of the way Diddy Kong winds up his shot, they would be so much better at hitting frame perfectly with him, and thus they would main Diddy Kong. Maybe he couldn't do a shortcut on Bowser Badlands, then they would have a secondary probably just for that.
Ultimately, it's unlikely that we'll see the Toadstool Tour's speedrunning community shift their focus into developing an esports around the game. After all, despite being out for 2 decades, there's still plenty of room for the world record to be pushed even lower. Regardless, after all we've talked about today, it's clear that Toadstool Tour would make an excellent esport.
If there is one other thing I want to touch on, it's that the skill gap in this game is insane. The amount you can learn about this game, the amount you can process information to make a better shot and use like the impact point, your power shots, your different clubs for different like angles, the way you like do the spin. It's just something that you don't see in a lot of like golf games these days. Most of them are just like, all right, hit ball.
All I'd like to speak about is how rewarding the game is, just in general. Because of the skill ceiling is basically infinite. If you were perfect at golf, you would put the ball in the hole every single time it would be physically possible to do so. And that means that there's a nearly infinite skill ceiling that you can get so close to, and when you tune your shot perfectly with every aspect of the mechanics available to you, it's the most rewarding feeling, and that's really the pinnacle of why I haven't stopped playing Toadstool Tour personally.
GameCube games are in the middle of an esports renaissance. Mario Baseball's esports scene is still in its infancy, the Sonic Riders community is discussing what an esports version of the game even looks like, and Smash Melee is, well, Smash Melee. With these in mind, there's no reason to think that a golf game released in 2003 couldn't begin its esports journey just in time for its 20-year anniversary. What are your thoughts on Mario Golf Toadstool Tour? Is a competitive golf game too much to ask? Or are the online capabilities just what the game needs to start an esports scene? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. This video is made possible thanks to our wonderful patrons. Massive thank you to everyone on this list, and shout out to Jason B, Brendan QB, Foxy Mauve, Pachanas, Sierra, Shampoo, Spartacus, and Yashichi for being platinum supporters. And an extra special shout out to Steven, Jason G, and Marco for being diamond supporters. Awesome to see you all still with us. If you want to talk to us, check out our Discord, or if you want to support the channel and get info on unreleased videos, check out our Patreon. If you want to help us out in a different way, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is also appreciated. My name is Jonah, thanks for watching.